So, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like the strikes have begun. It is day 11 of Trump's special military operation to take out the IRGC regime in Iran, or the Islamic regime, whatever you want to call them. It's very interesting to note that US Air Force have been reported to strike the northwestern city of Tabriz, which is right there, and air defenses are activated. Now, it's interesting that the US Air Force didn't really strike Tabriz in the first phase of the conflict back in March. That's at a time where they were mainly concentrated on taking out static regime targets or regime individuals or associated business and media targets. It seems to me that Trump and Hexeth are pushing forward in a very much more comprehensive and aggressive posture to take out the regime. And they're going for a wide range of targets, including logistical and infrastructure targets. This is no longer an attack just on. This is no longer a conflict of targeted strikes, basically. This is now a full-blown conflict. If you're watching this closely and you are looking at the information that I can find on Twitter right now via open source intel on Vatix, who, by the way, people really need to follow. Do not listen to Sky News. Don't listen to Michael Clark and other boomers who have no idea what they're talking about. You compare everything to the Ukraine-Russia war, because this isn't that. It's a totally different conflict. Yes, this all points to one thing. Once you take out someone's logistics and once you take out someone's infrastructure, you're really looking at bringing that government to its knees or collapsing that government. So it's very clear by these moves. And by the way, this is not just located on this town or this city in the northwest of Tabriz. There's also been strikes reported in the capital city of Tehran and way down in Isfahan and on the southern coast in Bushehr and Bandar Abbas. So this is a comprehensive, wide package of strikes targeting every key area. And they're not just hitting regime targets, they're hitting the infrastructure and the ammunition and logistical sites. Now, you only do this if you're prepping for a ground invasion, of course, and it's clear from what's going on that the US are prepping for a ground invasion from the northwest using proxy forces and from the south using US Marines. Now, the US Marines are most likely going to be involved in taking Carg Island, the enrichment areas or the enrichment facilities in Bushehr. Basically, you see on the map right now, there's this area from the town of Abadan on the west-southwestern border, all the way, if you can follow my mouse pointer, all the way to Bushehr. They want to cover all this area. And with 10,000 US Marines, I reckon they could cover this area. This area right here. With the key intention of cutting off the economy. Because once you've cut off your enemy's economy, or you've blocked their access to their economy, you really, really weaken them heavily. Now, not only that, I reckon, or I predict, that there'll be an operation to take Bandar Abbas and these islands here, especially the Kish Island and Keshem. The reason being is that they want to keep the Straits of Hormuz free from IRGC activity, and so that ships can navigate the straits. It will be a huge political victory for Trump if he can keep the world's economy at float whilst he pursues his goals of removing the Iranian regime. And if you're following this conflict closely, you can see that's where this is going. I mean, Trump is not a stupid individual. He would only be doing this if he believes that he can bring down the regime. And considering strikes have been reported here, all the way in the northwest, in the capital Tehran, and all the way in the south, in Bushehr and Bandar Abbas on the coast, it clearly looks like that the ceasefire is definitely over, and that phase 2 of the conflict has begun. And phase 2 is the target the logistics and infrastructure phase. Now, you would only be doing this if you were prepping for a ground invasion, which looks very likely to happen. And the US, like I said before, are clearly looking to take out the oil supply. Okay, there's open source intel is reporting that the Bibloland refinery has been hit in Mashhar. Now, where is Mashhar on this map? I'm going to have to type that in. Mashhar. Mashhar in Khuzestan province. Okay, that's a major oil province. So yeah, they would the Americans wouldn't be doing that if they had some sort of ground invasion in mind. These aren't pin strikes. These are very calculated, targeted strikes. I mean, to put things in perspective, they're hitting the northwest. They weren't hitting the northwest in the early stage of the conflict. So this means they are accelerating whatever they were doing before. They are going all in. At the beginning, they were doing very, very pin-pick kind of strikes. Now they are definitely upping the ante. Now on to the second stage of the ground war. It's interesting that most of these planes are flying over the northwest. Now, who lives in the northwest? Well, there's a shitload of Kurds there. And the Peshmerga can amass about 100,000 forces, know the terrain. These are the gold mine for President Trump. These are the ground forces that he needs to take out the regime. And it's interesting that something happened 2 weeks ago that the MSM, the mainstream media, and their experts didn't really pick up on. It was the NATO summit in Ankara. And who was there? Who was hosting it? It was the Turkish President Erdogan. Now, he's had reservations about helping the Kurds. I reckon Donald Trump has convinced him to get the green light to use them to take out the regime. And these strikes in Tabriz in the northwest are signs that point to this. They are weakening the regime's forces so that they can move in. So keep your eyes peeled, folks. The air campaign is accelerating in scope and in lethality, and it's only going to accelerate even further. So expect to see another 3 to 4 weeks, maybe even 5 weeks of a heavy air campaign to destroy the regime in terms of infrastructure, logistics, armed support, and morale. And once that happens, the ground forces will move in from the northwest here and US Marines in the south to take the oil producing regions, especially Clark Island, Shire, and the southern city of Bandar Abbas, so they can keep the Straits of Hormuz free from interference. or they actually accelerate on, air defenses are activated in northeastern Iraq and Tehran. So yes, they're, what do we have here? According to open source intel, the Parchin nuclear facility was struck. Oh, so yes, it seems to be they're hitting the nuclear facilities. They're going after Pickaxe Mountain. Well, they're going to go after Pickaxe Mountain very soon. Once that is taken out, and that's right in the center of the country, by the way. Pickaxe Mountains. It's just west of Natanz. It's, I think, this mountain over here or somewhere near there. Just west of Natanz, north of Isfahan, right smack bang in the center of the country. So it shows that the Americans have the have an almost have air supremacy over the whole country. So yes, this is a very, very calculated and very, very lethal air campaign in terms of scope and scale. This is no joke. So Tabriz missile strait was struck very hard tonight, according to reports. I mean, these are massive, massive strikes. I mean, this is happening right now as I'm recording this video. I'm reading this in open source intel. Let me see what Fatex has to say, because I like Fatex as well. He has a lot of information. Massive blasts in western Tehran. So yeah, Tehran's been hit, Tabriz, Bandar Abbas, and Bushehr, and a few other places as well. Yes, a place in the Khuzestan province has been hit as well, in the oil-producing regions. So this is a very, very broad campaign. These aren't targeted strikes on any particular individual. They are hitting the very things, the very objects that the regime need in order to survive, which is the oil refineries, the ammunition sites, and the logistical sites, and the infrastructure, the bridges, the roads, and whatnot, so they can't move around. So yeah, if Trump and Hegseth and CENTCOM keep this up for the next couple of weeks, we can see a ground invasion take place at the end of next month. And I predict that the IRGC regime will be hit so hard that the ground invasion will literally be a piece of cake. It will literally probably take 2 or 3 weeks. I can see the Peshmerga forces reaching, and if you look at this map, there's a town called Saveh, just west of Tehran. It's about 100 kilometers away. I reckon they could reach that in 3 weeks with US air support. And if that happens, the regime's a goner. They're done for, because there'll be an open air corridor and even a ground corridor to supply the Iranian opposition with through drones and helicopters, supply them with arms, and then it's really up to them to take out the regime, because Trump would not have given the green light for this operation if he didn't think he was going to win big. And what he really wants is to become a victorious wartime president. He really looks up to the likes of Eisenhower, Truman, and FDR. He wants to be on their level. And if he can win this war and overthrow this regime in Iran that's lasted for about 50 years, with very minimal US ground troops involvement, he'll be seen as one of the greatest presidents of all time. And if this happens in September or around that time, oh boy, the November elections, midterm elections, they're going to be a major rout for the Republican Party. They will dominate that election. They will literally win the House and win the Senate, probably with 2/3 majority. They'll probably get 2/3 majority in the House. I don't know what kind of majority they'll get in the Senate, but they'll get a shitload, a huge load of seats, and there'll be literally no stopping the Republican Party for the next decade. They will dominate the American political scene. Massive explosions heard in East Azerbaijan province, in the area around Tabriz. Yeah, I mean, we didn't hear things like this in the first phase of the conflict in March. So, or between March to April. So yeah, the US Air Force is going all in. I mean, the F-15s, the F-16s, the Tomahawks, the F-35s, the B-2s, the B-52s. I mean, it's Avengers mode. You know, the this is the guns of the Navarone. This is the heavy artillery. They're going all in. Hmm. Yeah, just take a look at this map. All these signs point to a calculated and carefully orchestrated air campaign. And that's something that boomers and on Sky News like Michael Clark don't understand. This is not the Russia-Ukraine conflict. This is not a quagmire. This is a very, very careful and cerebral air campaign. And right now, the Americans have the advantage. And they are upping the ante on a tactical and strategical level. So yeah, if you enjoy this video and would like to see more videos about this topic, please do let me know. I have to go to sleep. Thank you for watching, and hit the subscribe button and like if you can. This is my analysis of what's going on in the Middle East so far. Hope you liked it. Goodbye.